originally due to occur between May and June 2017, would be expedited, taking place no later than 2006. On September 7th, 2001, the IANI informed us that the UIR were about to stage a trigger event that would mark the beginning externalized advancement of the UIR Illuminati One World Order agenda, which would initiate the first active phase of the Wesadak versus Wesadrak Templar Conquest final conflict drama on Earth, a drama long encoded within the biblical revelation story. On September 11, 2001, that trigger event occurred as the Twin Towers and Pentagon failed to covert UIR infrasound Atlantean pylon implant network activation rendered under the cover of terrorist attack. On March 23, 2002, the UIR launched early activation of the Wesadak Beast machine, which was originally scheduled not until 2011. And this caused Emerald Covenant races to immediately revert to the Plan B Level 3 Ark of the Covenant evacuation agenda on March 23, 2002. It is the same Plan B Level 3 agenda originally intended in Atlantis, then cancelled via pre-phase lock Stargate closing during 22,326 BC stalemate. Our contemporary Stargate opening cycle has already phase locked in Earth shields. Closing Earth Stargates now is an action that would create massive destruction on Earth and in our universal Vecca system as well. So, forced Stargate closing is not an option in the present drama. The latest status updates of the Plan B agenda took place after the publication of Voyager's Volume 2 Second Edition and are therefore not found in the book. Since release of the book, rapid escalation in the interdimensional drama has required the IANI to release progressively more information pertaining to a variety of subjects that were not mentioned within the text of Voyager's Volume 2 Second Edition. Information related to the following subject was covered in a progressive series of 2002 workshops, which are available in audio and video. That's a commercial. New subjects include the Maharata text, Dance for Programs, The Secrets of Metatron, the 666 Beast Machine, the Full Black Hole Story, the Path of Arimathea Wormhole, the Wesadak versus Wesadrak Rival Fall Angelic Big Guns from the Metatronic WESA imploding black hole systems that are using the Phantom Matrix black hole to raid Earth and our universal system, and related material on the Personal Shadow, Shadow Dancer, Shadow Healing, and Essential Flame Body Activation. Well, we spend all our time playing in the garden, don't we? Yeah. In early July 2002, the IANI began early dispensation of advanced flame body activation technologies originally intended for slow, progressive release from November 2002 through 2006. On July 24, 2002, the UIR set second phase beast activation in motion, allowing the IANI to precisely calculate when the Beast Machine would bring Nibiruan Battlestar Wormwood, aka Planet X, etc., and the UIR's Metatronic Universal Blue Fire Sword Initiation Black Hole Fall Shield Reversal directly to Earth's doorstep. The flame body technologies now offered in the Maharata Text Level 3 Dance of Freedom program have been provided to prepare indigos and humans to rapidly activate the natural personal flame body field via expedited personal shield activation. Universal Vecca Level 1 flame body activation in the personal shields will prepare indigo and human biology to withstand the monadic reversal effects of the now unstoppable UIR beast planetary blue fire sword initiation and resulting activation of the embodied Metatronic 666 seed atom, both of which will take place on May 27th, 2003. Under the Plan B Level 3 agenda, Level 1 Universal Vecca Amorea Personal Flame Body Activation would permit people holding this shield activation to enter the IANI Indigo Collective Golden Fleece Frequency Platform Host Matrix. The Collective Golden Fleece Host Matrix wave field will allow Level 1 Universal Vecca Flame Body activated people to ride the portions of Earth Shield bound for the bridge zone into the Ark of the Covenant arc zone protection field during the coming 3-day particle conversion period. Under Plan B, Level 3, a Level 3 Akasha Amareya personal flame body activation would allow self-directed, non-hosted Ark of the Covenant passage during the 3-day period. From March 23, 2002 to November 24, 2002, Earth has been under Plan B Level 3 Ark of the Covenant evac notice, and Emerald Covenant races have been providing progressive dispensations of data to assist indigos and humans in activating a minimum of Level 1 Universal Vecca Personal Amareya Flame Body. Critical mass flame body activation within the indigo communities of Earth will trigger automatic Level 1 flame body activation among significant segments of sleeping indigo and human populations. Until the events of November 24, 2002, Emerald Covenant races were still hopeful that the expedited 3-day particle conversion period could be held off until 2006, giving greater percentages of Earth's life field and shields more time to achieve a minimum required Level 1 Universal Vecca Flame Body activation. And now we move on to the November 24, 2002 Plan B Level 6 Ark of the Covenant evac agenda, and now the Spear of Destiny. On November 24, 2002, a series of events were set in motion that abruptly cast Earth into the status of Plan B Level 6 Planetary Ark of the Covenant evacuation. It is due to this unfortunate but not entirely unanticipated turn of events within the interdimensional political arena that the Iani races must begin expedited revelations of the secrets of the Ark of the Covenant portal passage. Due to the series of events that the Iani refer to as the landing of the Falcon, and here think Wesadrak Falcon, the Wesadrak Falcon wormhole, and the Phaex network, reference Voyager Volume 2, 2nd edition. Recent information provided by the Iani regarding the now officially instated Level 6 evac is extremely complex and sophisticated, with numerous new intensive graphs, charts and data that we are presently translating for presentation during this workshop. To put it all in the simplest terms, so that we can begin preparation for this new chapter in the progressively escalating contemporary Earth fallen angelic final conflict drama, the events that were set in motion on November 24th, 2002 have to do with something called the Spear of Destiny. The UIR Wesadak beastly blue sword from hell is still scheduled to arrive promptly on May 27, 2003 to begin the Metatronic Planetary Fire Sword initiation. As originally planned in the Emerald Covenant Plan B Level 3 agenda, the Luciferian Fire Sword event will be met with the Iani Guardians Amareya Arc project and the natural Hitharo Peak protection field. And now we know that the Iani's Arc project has always referred to the Ark of the Covenant project. As if this raging interdimensional fallen angelic final conflict drama has not already given Team Indigo and the Emerald Covenant nations enough to deal with, we are now faced with the final stage of covert conflict escalation and the emergence of the Spear of Destiny. With the emergence of the Spear of Destiny comes the triggering of the aforementioned Arc autopilot system and planetary Level 6 evac. Level 6 evac means that indigos and humans need to rapidly activate the Arc seal release and Shield of the Arc codes within the personal shields, and to prepare for the 2003 automatic opening of the Ark of the Covenant passage. There is much to learn now for all of us and very little time to get things right. Earth was plunged into Plan B Level 3 evac when the primarily Anunnaki hybrid Wesadak Nephilim of the Wesadak black hole system in our universal Vecca quadrant, the Particum universe, activated the beast machine to bring the flaming blue sword of Archdemon Michael into, I'll repeat that, the flaming blue sword of Archdemon Michael into our universal Vecca for intended force Wesadak black hole 4. An easy way to comprehend the recent upgrade to planetary level 6 evac is to consider the Spear of Destiny as the primarily Omicron Draconian hybrid Weser-Drac Nephilim equivalent to the Weser-Drax Flaming Blue Sword reversed base 8 D13 black hole current. The Weser-Drac Collective have long controlled the parallel universe Vecca quadrant portions, the Party universe, of the Weser Nephilim black hole system, and they have for eons fought against their rival Weser-Drac Nephilim from this universal Vecca quadrant for final territorial dominion of the Weser black hole system. Unfortunately, for our universal Vecca quadrant, our natural stargates are placed between the two competing regions of the Weser black hole, and our stargate systems and that of our parallel universal Vecca quadrant, within which parallel Earth resides, are wired into both factions of the Weser black hole via the Beast Machine. The Weser-Drac Spear of Destiny Universal Shields implant system can be most easily understood as the mechanism by which the Weser-Dracs of the parallel Weser black hole hope to hijack and amplify the Weser-Drax Blue Sword current. The Weser-Drac intention has long been to capture the Weser-Drac created Beast Machine and to use it to pull the Weser-Drac black hole territories and our universal Vecca and its parallel into the parallel universe side Weser-Drac black hole. Both the Particum and Particule universe Weser black hole counterparts run on the artificially generated base 8 reversed Metatronic current. For aeons, the Anunnaki-based Weser-Drac hybrids have used their superior base 8D11.5 reverse current potential to terrorize and attempt destruction of the draconian-based Weser-Drac races, who have been limited to a weaker base 8 D10.5 reverse current. The Weser-Drax Blue Sword of the Beast base 8 D13 reverse current potential technology was invented by the Weser-Dracs as their final weapon of glory, through which they could systematically devour our living universal Vecca, while ensuring themselves final destruction of the Weser-Drac races and resulting dominion of the parallel Weser black hole territories. The Weser-Drac Spear of Destiny Metatronic Universal Shield implant systems were created by the Weser-Dracs as their terror of being annihilated response to the very real Weser-Drac Blue Sword threat. After millions of years of their ongoing battles, the controlling dictatorial high councils of both fallen races are long past any ability to act responsibly or rationally toward each other, and both share a common objective of destroying the other regardless of the cost or of who's in between. Neither desire resolution of the conflict through peaceful means, and nor does either care who gets hurt or destroyed in the crossfire. A conceptual grasp on the relationship between the Anunnaki Weser-Drac Blue Sword of Archdemon Michael and the Omicron Draconian Weser-Drac Spear of Destiny technologies can be gained through picturing the Blue Sword D13 reverse current as symbolized by the upright standing crucifixion cross associated with distorted pseudo-Christian, Luciferian, and UIR control dogmas. Imagining this upright cross symbol, oh yeah, they're really going to tell everybody. Imagining this upright cross symbol under pole shift reversal where it becomes the upside down inverted cross symbol of the Spear of Destiny. Thank you. It is usually associated with earthly satanic worship and necromancy control dogmas. In practical as well as conceptual terms, the Blue Sword current and its intended reversal to become the Spear of Destiny imply actual technical realities within the universal, galactic, planetary and personal shields. These technical shield mechanics realities will affect each of us at the deepest of levels, whether or not we choose to wake up to the major drama that is presently unfolding on our planet. On November 24th, 2002, the Weser Drax of Telos, Vega Lyra and Orion, also known as High Council of the Dark League, called the bluff of the Weser DAC-directed UIR Blue Sword Brigade. In response to the Weser DAC's 2002 early activation of the Beast Machine, which initiates the Weser DAC's Blue Sword current in our universal Vecca and on Earth on May 27, 2003, the Weser Drax set their Spear of Destiny apparatus in motion through the first of several major sequential Metatronic Universal Shield activations. The first Spear of Destiny activation is called the Pentagonal activation, which initiated via a pulse from a Weser Drax Telos camps via Vega Lyra Universal Stargate 10. The pentagonal pulse released through this activation photosonically speaks to the Draconian Falcon wormhole on Earth, expanding the Falcon wormhole and activating the Falcon, Dragon, and Phi-X Appin systems and wormhole networks under Weser Drac D10.5 reverse current. The pentagonal activation consummated in Earth shields on December 8th, 2002, automatically triggering the next sequential Weser Drac Metatronic implant activation, called the Crescent, which will consummate on December 21st, 2002, as has now passed, triggering activation of the Sephiroth, the symbol called the swastika on Earth. Activation of the Weser Drac Spear of Destiny Metatronic implant system is known as the landing of the Falcon among Guardian and Fallen races. Thus, on November 24, 2002, the Falcon landed, and overt global politics may get pretty interesting to observe from this point on. Through the landing of the Falcon, the Weser Dracs have responded to the Weser Dax Blue Sword War Edict with an affirmative "Game on, boys" message, revealing in no uncertain terms the Weser Dracs' intention of fighting this one to the death. The Weser Dac UIR will not, of course, idly sit back and watch the Weser Dracs take over the coveted Blue Sword and Beast Machine to orchestrate Weser Dac destruction by the blade of the Spear of Destiny. When the Weser Dracs initiated the pentagonal activation on November 24, 2002, the Weser Dac UIR responded on the same day, launching their intended override system called the Palladium Pulse, which initiates activation of the Weser Dac Sickle implant network. The Palladium Pulse will reach Earth shields in late February 2003. Trigger the Sickle network interaction with the Weser Drac Sephiroth network that will be activating in Earth shields within a progressively lower frequency spectra. What will this look like in 3D terms, as my friend is saying over here? Good question. That's why we're here. There is much we all need to learn, and quickly, regarding the Falcon landing and Spear of Destiny Universal Galactic Planetary Personal Shield activations. The IANI will provide more details as we move along this weekend and throughout 2003, but they must place as first priority the steps Indigos and humans need to take to prepare themselves for what this escalation in the final conflict drama status implies. The most important thing we need to understand at this time is that Level 6 Ark of the Covenant evac went on Ark autopilot trigger on December 5th, 2002, in automatic response to critical mass activation of the Weser Drax pentagonal pulse in Earth shields. Plan B Level 6 evac means complete opening of the Ark of the Covenant passage to the Akasha Air Universe level, which implies activation of the Universal Galactic Planetary Personal Eucatharista Flame Body activation level, the whole enchilada of expedited flame body activation. In other words, Level 6 evac, and we've nearly finished now too, Level 6 evac means that the double Akasha Air 13th pillar will begin Ark autopilot automatic activation within Earth shields during the Hitharo peak of May 27, 2003. And is likely to occur before, what's this? All right. These parens just throw me. Level 6 evac. It means double Akasha pillar, Ark autopilot, likely to occur before 2003 end, 2004 latest, instead of the Plan B Level 3 evac schedule 2006. So in very earthly terms, all of this means that Earth shields and populations will have far less time to achieve the flame body activation levels needed to enter the Ark of the Covenant arc zone before planetary particle conversion and Wesadrak black hole fall actually occurs. Level 6 Ark of the Covenant evac also means that the earthly indigo children of the Emerald Covenant Iani Azrai Indigo Team Indigo are now receiving their final call to active service, through which they can activate the collective Golden Fleece wave field host matrix, by which the Earth shields and population percentages can enter the Ark of the Covenant arc zone safety field for passage through the 3-day particle conversion period into the ascending bridge zone time continuum. Do you want to read that, Jim? No, that's that bit. As Plan B Level 6 unfolds, it is also important for those of us who care to understand a bit about what the Spear of Destiny planetary shield activation means in relation to our personal bodies, minds, spirits, and what these draconian activations are designed to do to our personal shields. As has been revealed in recent workshops, the Blue Sword Planetary Fire Sword initiation on May 27, 2003 will trigger activation of the 666 Apollyon Metatronic seed atom under Wesadak coding. This unnatural seed atom complex exists within the universal, galactic, solar, planetary, and personal shields, and thus also exists within our bodies. The flame body activation technologies released in the Dance for Freedom program would provide sufficient personal shield activation to transmute the Metatronic seed atom activation and prevent it from causing monadic reversal of our shields when it begins activation in May 2003. The Wesadrak Spear of Destiny Metatronic implant system is designed to initiate early activation of the 666 Apollyon Metatronic seed atom under Wesadrak coding, which begins with activation of the Sephiroth phase of the implant network December 21, 2002. And that's why the ARC codes were introduced as quickly. For most people, flame body activation will not proceed rapidly enough, nor reach a needed critical mass in the shields to create protection from the December 21, 2002 early 666 Metatronic seed atom activation. For this reason, the Iani have activated within the Echo Universe shields and provided to us the Arc Seal release codes for the Ark of the Covenant. Shield induction of the 4-stands Arc Seal code sequence will prepare us to initiate activation of the first level of the personal and collective Golden Fleece wave field, through which the internal Ark of the Covenant and external Arc passage is initiated. Use of the Arc Seal release codes on December 21, 2002, as the 666 seed atom initiates activation, will allow sufficient critical mass, personal flame body, Golden Fleece activation to occur, which will set in motion co-resonant transmutation of the 666 seed atom as it progressively enters its activation cycle.
I can talk for 10 minutes only. Thank you. That was a long one. Oh. All right. Just many of you may have it from pulling it off the internet, but you will also get a copy of that paperwork with you do have a chart pack coming. It was funny this morning. I thought, well, we have like 15 or so odd new graphs, I think, but they're all like don't even have a sequence here. I was wondering if we'd even have a chart pack or a little workshop pack. And at the moment, just like today's stuff is 41 pages, so you have one coming. And there's more to come tomorrow. Now, that piece, with the usual level of detail characteristic of the Iani and the Guardian Alliance, which is enough to exhaust me anyway, I don't know about you. I get so tired from the detail that I just want to go to sleep. But that basically gave us a rather detailed rundown on the whys, the wheres, the whats, where we came from, where this all, last time, 22,326 BC, where it was left in a stalemate. Now it's here and it's in our face. It could have gone better, and it hasn't gone really well. But now it's gone so bad that it's coming back to being good again, which is a good thing. And that's what we're going to be dealing with in this workshop. Now, the codes that were the ARC codes, the seal release codes, that were given to us in December were given when they activated in the ECA grids, okay, which means in the ECA universal shield, not yet in the universal shield here. What we found out during that time that I found fascinating, because I didn't realize, was that the indigo children of Earth, their body templates are keyed to the ECA grids, not just to Earth shields. So they were able to, even though Earth shields couldn't yet run that frequency, the indigo bodies could. So we gave the codes out, on the internet, so anybody who wanted to use them, could use them to catch that wave of activation first. Now, during this period here, in February, when we're here, we're getting the activation in the Earth shields of the what's called the Yan, the Azur Yan, and the Ashe Yun codes of the 2 of the 4 codes. We're going to run the whole sequence here as the wave comes in to activating in the Earth's grids as well, which will strengthen our own activation. What's interesting, too, is when we got these codes, and one of those, it was the Yan that appeared on the glass when the lights went out. What's interesting about these codes is, at the time, it was before we had any of these diagrams that you're going to see through this workshop, and it was absolutely fascinating to see where these shapes plugged in to the anatomy of Merkaba and Cathara and how all those things fit together. And there's a number of other codes that also emerged through that interrelated structure of Merkaba anatomy that we'll learn about probably this evening. I think we'll have time to go through, into the advanced Merkaba structural mechanics, which means tomorrow we'd pick up with the Ark of the Covenant, which is the next level of detail after that. But tonight we will take time to run those codes, because I believe they started activating in the grids this morning somewhere right before dawn, and they build as they go. So we're going to catch that wave for those who want to re-enter them. They're very simple induction exercises. These aren't long, drawn-out ones. Like, if we all survived, like, the Dance for Freedom program with the 20 techniques, and you still came back, this is nothing. These are easy. So we're going to do those. We also are going to be given a few other codes. I've seen parts of them. Now, one is a code that specifically activates what's called the stands, or the flow pattern, for opening the Golden Fleece frequency field. So we were given that, too, over the holidays, over Christmas, but we weren't told what it was. Just it's a healing code. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Tell us how important a healing code it was. But now we have the graphs and diagrams that show where all these things fit together. And it never ceases to amaze me personally, because I'm translating the information, where I'll get certain parts of the information and not know anything about other parts of the information. And things just justify themselves as they go along. Like that code you gave me 2 months ago, all of a sudden, aha, that's where it fits in this massive pile of information where it makes perfect sense. Where what we took on faith in December, like, okay, it's a healing code, we'll use this code. Right? Now we see exactly where it goes, what it does. So it's kind of fascinating, and the work has always been like that. It has an amazing ability to self-justify, where it doesn't contradict itself, it doesn't fight with itself, it doesn't leave gaps in its information. So we're going to, I think we're going to go for break within probably 4 or 5 minutes. But before we do, I was sitting there when Az was reading, and I noticed, if you saw me looking around kind of funny, we got company. And I'm going, who are these guys, right? And some of them are our guys that, well, actually your guys. They're hanging out with you. I don't know. But there's a very strong presence of the ancient Tribe 11 people. As soon as we came up this time, up to Ireland, in the hotel room, it wasn't here, it was a different hotel we were staying at the first night, they just this burst of energy released from the grids, and it was like you could hear a million voices, bless you, say, "Hello, we're glad you're here." I said, "Hello, who are you?" I said, "Don't you remember us?" And I did. There was a memory feel on it. And there was a very special commission given to the Gate 11 people. The Zephardon Ator were the name of the Tribe 11. And they were the keepers of the Ark of the Covenant. And they were the keepers of the Zephardon and the Atorah temples. And they're going to work with us while we're here. And they came in while Az was reading. And there was just like a bunch of them just hanging out in the back, almost like in a half circle around the back. And then there was something else I saw, and I saw why they came in. There was like this field of black icky-looking tar stuff that was trying to move into the room from that, like from way back there, trying to move through that wall into this room. And they literally formed a barrier and stopped it. So before we do go to break, I would like to, if you will join with me, sing just the Maharata song, just to bring the frequencies up strong enough. That nice little greeting we got when we were in the hotel, by the way, was lovely. And then that night we got totally astral attack by the other guys. So there's definitely both sides out and about and paying attention to what's being done here. So it's a good time to do a Maharata song. But my partner's not here to sing with me, so I'll have to do it myself. Okay, I'm so used to being, it's almost like we're so used to being together and working together all the time now that you feel like you lost half of your body when the other one's not there. You know? But I think I can still sing and talk and function. Yes. All right. All right. Maharata Kumbai Vector Sashanitu in Nebukai Uniblium by Vectai Mahabai Vectai Honoreyonemur Iste Undai Satrasda Heheva Patate Uma Hashelam Traija Intedore Shadayureya Humtan Ahumtan Shadayureya Humtan Ahumtan Shadayureya Humtan. There's a little dip of Kemelohati that you can put right at the end there that actually picks up it activates some of the shield coding on the Kemelohati song. Hakumtan Kemelohati. Right? So it actually does something. It's like it activates a bit more in the shields when you do that. That was beautiful, people. You know, it always makes me feel good when I feel that the power of your power coming in and being with you. And it's a real honor this is a hard work job these days because everything goes so fast. No matter how fast you run, you can never keep up with it. But it's an honor to be a speaker for this information because it's the most sacred information in this. It's the creation information. And it's an honor to serve the information, to serve God's source, but also to serve you in just helping you to remember. This is your information. This is your knowledge. It belongs to all of us. And it's so good to see so many of you here. The fact that there are so many of you here, and not just many of you, but some of the most powerful, let's say, high council members of just about every council that I've run into in the last 2,000 years or so, means something. There's something big up that we're a part of, that we all decided to come here to be with, and you probably don't know what it is any more than I do. It has something to do with the opening of the temples and the awakening of what they call the gentle giant, which are a set of temples that begin the Ark of the Covenant opening and begin the healing frequencies. And and begin to teach you how to steer your Merkabahs. Okay. Gets back to that thing I was talking about in the palms, right? Just real quick before we go for break. Once it's activated in the palms, you know how we've talked about our Rishik shield, the big one that runs vertically here, right? Well, we have one in our parallel bodies too, and it runs here in relation to our bodies. So there's actually, once the palms are activated, you can take it, fold it, direct it. You actually anchor through the palms the Rishik shield from the parallel side, and that's where you direct. It's full control over the Merkabah vehicle. So we're going to be learning that. You have to activate the rod, which is a horizontal frequency that runs through, and you'll see where that fits when you see where Merkabah and Kathara fit together. So we're going to be learning basically how to steer the things. And I'm looking at all this stuff they're giving us and saying, you know, it looks like somebody's really planning to take us for a ride, because I don't think they'd be giving us this much detail if they weren't. So we're going to take ourselves for a ride at some point, I think, and we're getting like driver's ed at the moment. So when we get back, we'll do the real quick run through of these are your parts, remember these, and this is how they fit, and this is what they have to do with this hard stuff that we just got down over the last 5 days of no sleep. You know, not 5 days of no sleep, I'm exaggerating. It was only about 4 days of sleeping maybe an hour to 3 hours per night. So I won't exaggerate. I try to be direct and honest and accurate. I think it's break time. And that means there should be coffee out there, I think. So what time are we coming back? Let me see. Now, since we're all back and in our seats, yes. I'm going to do a quick run-through of the pieces of what is it y'all learned that, you've been kind of cramming into your brains for the last however long you've been involved with this program. I'm not going to go through it intensively. What I want to do is make a connection for you between the pieces of things that you have learned, how they fit, and to where that expands into the new information that we're being given now about advanced Merkaba mechanics. And I'm not sure how long the program's going to take. I really wonder. It's really strange. It used to be that I'd have like a very small amount of Mylars and it would take me forever. I could go for like 8 hours on like 10 transparencies, as they're called. But now I have like 40 transparencies and I get done in half the time. And I don't know how our time is going to work tonight. But what it's going to bring us up to is understanding. I do want to get you to where you see the graphs tonight and where we hopefully get to explain them and what they mean, the new graphs. And if I can find out from Noel, wherever Noel is, whenever the printing is coming back, you do have the material that you'll see today coming, and it's just at the printer, and I'm not sure when it's coming in. We're going to finish tonight with running the codes again, running the ARC release seal codes at the end. But they'll mean a lot more to you by the time you go through the information that you're going to be given here, because you'll see where they fit, and you'll see how the pieces fit together. Now, just in basic terms, I'm probably going to go through these graphs fast. I always say that, and then I end up there forever. And usually I drive us crazy with that. So, this is going to go fast. Yeah, 20 minutes later, she's still on the same one. But I don't think I'm going to do that here. I don't think I need to. You guys are great, by the way. The frequency that you are all holding is quite amazing. There's such a difference coming in and speaking with an audience like you who have taken the time to learn things and said, okay, well, I'm supposed to learn this before I go to that course, so I will, at least touch base with it. The frequency and the coherence of consciousness that you guys carry compared to a group where you go in and people are like you have some of them that have been with the program the whole time, others that are new and attached to whatever they're attached to. The difference in frequency is awesome. I can just feel it. It's like this huge disc that your consciousness forms that's hanging in the room, and it's just like a million neurons firing everywhere, and it's really beautiful. I'm seeing it in the astral, the configuration that each of you are contributing to. It's like a standing seer, a work of art that's hanging in the air. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and to thank you all for it. It's a very, very special group here. And I don't know what is up, but this is the biggest High Council group I've ever seen in this time frame assembled. So something big is going down. Anyway, we'll find out by Sunday, I imagine, what the something big is. I felt it since we got here, but it's still on security clearance. They wouldn't even release the information on the Ark of the Covenant gates until we got to this hotel. The first hotel, they wouldn't release the information on those grids. So it's one of those security release workshops. And when we have those, God knows what happens by the end of it. But it's usually good. Anyway, back to this. The whole key to understanding Hitharo, to understanding this major cycle of what we're going through, of change and renewal, of clearing and cleansing, what a Hitharo is, has to do very specifically with the function of universal Merkaba fields. Now, we've explored Merkaba fields in the relationship to DNA template and to our shields and things like that. And we started with the basic little shape of a Merkaba, where you have the two tetrahedrons, interwoven tetrahedrons of counter-rotating spiraling electromagnetic energy. And contrary to some people's belief, they are supposed to spiral in opposite directions, not in the same direction. I'll explain real quick what happens when you spiral them in the same direction. It actually creates a phase lock in the shields here. The shields lock up, the thing spins like a tube as one and generates a static field all the way around itself, and it compacts whatever matter is inside of it until it implodes on itself. So the thing that hit the internet not too long ago, where certain people decided to just throw dirt at us, and they're quite popular people in the New Age movement, they didn't back it up with much substance. And in fact, the words that were used to say that we were teaching reverse Merkaba and a bunch of other stuff, and we didn't like Archangel Michael either, poor us. The very words that person used to describe what they never teach this categorize them specifically into teaching Antichristos Merkaba. And if they knew Merkaba, they would have chosen a better angle of attack, because it just put how little was known out. Once you see where Merkaba fits in to the larger structure of universal design, where all these pieces come together of our bodies and our echo God world gates and all this stuff, it makes sense. Merkaba is a divinely beautiful science. And if you can look at the counter-rotation of spiral sets, where the electrical goes one way and it's supposed to go clockwise, and it's supposed to be electrical, and in our Particum universe, it's the top one. In the Partic parallel universe, it's the bottom one. Now that's a natural reversal. It's an inversion, not a reversal. But anyway, we start with these. We're going to see how this shape becomes something different. We already explored in the earlier dance floor programs how this, with certain shield activations, turns into the Akasha Merkaba, which is the larger one that looks kind of like an umbrella. That is a simplified version of what we're going to learn about tonight. Now, we'll learn one thing. Within this diagram, it shows that here is the central point where the two spirals link, right? That's where you'd have that V shape coming up, the tetrahedronal shape coming up. When this Merkaba, which is called a biveka Merkaba, that's capable of going vertical or horizontal, but it cannot go diagonal, when this fully activates, this center of, you could call it almost a center of gravity, shifts up to here into the Azure point, what's called the Azure point. So you will see the Christic Merkaba mechanics that we're going to go forth with in this evening's program, how they are all centered from the Azure point, which is at the thymus gland. So this locking in down here is how the Merkaba, a normal biveka Merkaba functions when it is not activated. When it is activated, that whole axis shifts up here and the angles change into a natural biveka Merkaba configuration, which is the density, like a 12-dimensional Merkaba. You're going to see some really neat sacred geometries. They're sacred geometries that were fascinating, and they taught me about them as the diagrams were coming. Most of this workshop did not come in words. It was amazing. Usually I will get translation in words off the plates. This all came in like direct cognition math, which I am not a math person. I don't like math at all. No, give that to Az. Please give that to Az. And they were giving him some of that too. But I was getting it in pictures. That was the closest way to translate it, was in pictures, and it came out as very intense geometrical diagrams that show the interrelationship of energy fields and parts we already know that we have, like etheric grids and things. So this, we're going to see, is just a very small part of the larger structure of personal and universal Merkaba. By the end of this workshop, they're going to teach us how to use a very special type of Merkaba called the double biveka Merkaba that allows for one to begin entering a state of bilocation. And it's key to what's happening in Hitharo as well. So there's a code that's going to be given. We've got half of it down already, and they haven't shown me the other piece of it. We'll have that probably for Sunday. But for now, we're dealing with the basic shape of Merkaba on the personal level. For anybody that doesn't know, these are the shields. Your scalar template shields is a Maharic shield down here that everything is based on. It has to come through the base 12 frequencies of the D12 Maharata current. That's what your shields would look like if you took the Merkaba field away from them. Now, we learned that apparatus called the Merkaba field, what its purpose is it takes these things, the primal life force currents, which we should all have at least become slightly familiar with in the Dance 4 programs. It runs all of these frequencies are the frequencies. These are the substance that spiral down to make and form the Merkaba fields themselves. They spiral down from the higher dimensional fields. The personal one, your personal Merkaba field gets its energy from the planetary one, gets its energy from the solar one, gets its energy from the galactic one, gets its energy from the universal one, gets its energy from the echo one, et cetera, all the way up to the first creation level, which is the Akasha Ea level. And we've covered that information in the Dance 4, the earlier Dance 4 program. So these, again, are the primal life force currents. So you have a Merkaba field that runs the primal life force currents. Bye-bye. And this, everybody should know what that is by now. I won't even ask, because if you don't know, I won't embarrass you asking you to put up your hand. This is the Kathara grid, the core template of all templates upon which manifestation is built. You can also look at it is the base Christ code, or the Christ code, that when it has 12 spheres on it. We don't call the spheres Sephiroth, because Sephiroth is derived from a word called Sephiroth, which has to do with draconian grids that just activate, and we don't want to have any connection with that. So this is a Kathara grid. This, as we saw in the Dance for Love program, where we had the introduction of the echo maps of the God World gates, we see how this structure interacts with more of itself to form amazing, complex structures, template structures, upon which many, many manifestations of interconnected worlds are built. So this core structure, the one thing we haven't touched yet, is how does that fit in with the Merkaba field? We know they're interrelated. We know that these little signets here, or stargates, if you want to call them that, Kathara centers, run frequency through, from the Merkabas from the template into the Merkabas and through into manifestation. But we've never seen how this fits in with the structure of a Merkaba field. And that's what we're going to see in the new material that was given. And it's really fascinating. As it was coming out on the graph, I'm going, oh, neat. Look at that. Never thought of that. So that's where it ends. So that's where that stops. Oh, okay. It goes up that far. Okay. So there's a lot that was learned through understanding how this fits into Merkaba. Now, again, just for refresher quick. And remember, what I'm doing right now is giving you a visual refresher of the frequency bridge. Okay? So more important than what I'm saying is just like, oh, yeah, that one. I remember that one. I saw that in there somewhere. Right, in your books, because all of these diagrams should be in the books that you've had, the material that you had to purchase to come to this workshop. That, again, is your Kathara grid inside your body. So we had that, and then we went into... See, I'm going to whip through these, I told you. Now, I am going through this fast. This is not my usual teaching rate. It is how I cover material you should already know, but I'm just reminding you of. Okay, so is there anybody that I'm losing at this rate? Okay, just in case there's anybody that's new and just read the books a little bit. It does good. You guys are getting to the point where you vibrate so high, I'm not going to be able to talk fast enough to keep up with you. And you're going to get really bored. Like, well, you come on already. All right, I got that. Where's the new stuff? Part of you are already doing that. Just... Anyway, we went from whatever we went from. Where were we? I just lost myself. Yeah, what was the last one? Yeah, okay, internal Kathara grid, the internal shields, bless you. When they're activated, this is your personal shields, Maharic shield, Telluric shield, Doradic shield, and Tauric shield. And we also learned that we have a Rishaic shield and an Ionic shield that extend into the primal light fields. The Rishaic shield is D13, 14, 15, and the Ionic shield extends into the Eka God worlds and connects us to the universal Merkaba and the Akasha Merkaba. Now, we're aiming high compared to most people are teaching Merkaba mechanics right now. Most people teaching Merkaba mechanics that I've seen have no clue, or if they do, they're not telling anybody else out here, about what Merkaba connects to. They don't teach you anything much about the science of the shields. They don't teach you the connection between Merkaba fields, the shield templates, the DNA strands, and particularly what they don't teach are the echo maps of the God World gates. Why? Because you have to have a minimum of D12 clearance to be able to pull the information of the echo maps down. And if you do not run a D12 base 12 CRIS code, you cannot access that information from the CDD plates even if you steal them. So the only way for certain forces on this planet to get a hold of the echo maps is for us to bring them through. And they wouldn't have been brought through if it wasn't too late anyway, if it wasn't so much mess created here that it would do more good to have the people working in service to the Christos and to eternal life have the information than to try to protect it from the others abusing it. But just watch. I'm very curious to see what happens about those who like to throw stones at me, see what they might do with these. Because when you find out about the shields, you know your anatomy. We've taken it from personal anatomy, every little piece of personal anatomy. We've taken our shields to the DNA shield template, and there's just quick stuff. And also shadow body stuff, which I won't even touch on now. You know about that, and we've talked enough about that in the other dance floor programs. But we've gone shields to DNA shields. I'm whipping here. To auric fields, chakra centers. Okay, we got all of this stuff covered. Every level. There's a lot of, whoops, yeah, it is backwards. Yeah, that's all right. There we go. That make you happier? Since we're not reading it, it doesn't matter too much. Yeah. Auric field, chakra centers. It shows you where all the parts fit together. And what's fascinating is every little ism that somebody out there, I've noticed this, New Age movement. Oh, one person's teaching chakras, another's teaching axiotonals, another's teaching Merkaba. Don't you guys get it? They're all a part of the same anatomy. It's like, no, this is a better healing system. Excuse me. They're all interrelated. You need to see where the pieces fit. We have learned that. Then we go into axiotonal lines. So the axiotonal line says, if that's backward too, don't worry about it. We're not looking at the words. But since you're looking at it and optically picking it up, I'll put it in frontwards. All right? Axiotonal lines. We went from axiotonal lines. Got it that time. Did I? Yes, it's right. To atoms, to literally the structure of the energy fields of how they're supposed to be running in your atoms. So we took it right down to what are called ionic particulates, which are the first little tiny things that manifest into subatomic particles like quarks and muons and mesons and all those little things that physicists like to play with. We've taken these primal life force currents, the structure of Merkaba, all those things, put them together and showed where they come right down into the matter base. This is where we could get science nervous if we started giving mathematical formulas. And get ourselves killed probably. But we don't need to have the mathematical formulas that physicists would use in order to get mastery over this natural part of our own anatomy. We went from there into radial bodies, natural astral body, where we learned about the radial body levels. What's going to be neat when we learn about the new way that Merkaba fits into the Kathara, we'll also learn about how these radial bodies are formed, how the Merkaba actually forms these. And it forms something different, which I don't have the diagrams of the different done yet, because it's more important to teach you how it works than to show where the other people are teaching it backwards, where it doesn't work. But these radial bodies are formed by the natural flow of counter-rotating Merkaba spiral sets. If you have same rotation spiral sets, it creates something different that looks like two of these fused together, where energy bounces off itself and circulates in polarity in two pieces within a Merkaba field, when it should be open circuits of energy that flow together. It creates what's called a phase-locked biveka. Now, anybody that knows the biveka, it's what on this planet was called the Vesica Pisces. Vesica Pisces is a phase-locked biveka. It means it is running a reverse Antichristos pattern, and it is the base template that artificial light is created on. So these are some of the other teachings that are out there. Now, we've gone from radial body anatomy to, this is when I started to get excited, flame body anatomy, where, and I don't have the bigger one, the one that shows the higher flame, but where that radial body depolarizes its frequency and becomes the Akasha-shaped flame bubble, your flame body, and each density level does that until you eventually have a universal level flame body up to the 4 density levels and then the 5th level. It shows how all these pieces fit, taking you right down into the heart of what metaphysics has always been about. But these aren't just metaphysics, they're Christos physics. This is the eternal life structure. This is the structure of anatomy that we, when we were breatharians, used. We didn't have to eat things in those days. We just dance, In fact, we could just dance in our heads and it would do the same thing. You didn't have to even dance on the outside, but it was fun. So these are the things that we've learned as we move through the Dance 4 program so far. And I really wish there had been time to put all the words that go with the pictures into a real book format, because they've all been crash course together, thrown into manuals as fast as possible. It would take probably a good 6 to 8 months to take each level of the course and put it as a real solid book course. We just don't have time because the drama is moving so quickly. We went from there to learning about the transduction sequence and about how matter continually comes into existence through this whole system of Cathara grid, shields, the morphogenetic field, the Merkaba fields, all the way through on the planetary level, then into the personal level. We learned how, with the in-breath and out-breath, we're actually progressively creating our hologram, where we inhale and bring the moment before back in and exhale the next moment out. Our breathing rhythm, our heart rate, all of these things are directly part of the manifestation process. So we've really taken the structure of interdimensional anatomy and Christos anatomy right down into the heart of what reality is created from. Oops, excuse me. We went from there to, this one still didn't get typeset. And this was pretty old too. There we go. All right, this one, you're going to seeing where the Cathara grids, our internal Cathara grids, link us to our parallel, our light field, the parallel light field, and we have a parallel double over in the parallel universe, which would be the antiparticle, or pKa positive, which is part of K unit positive. We're in the PCM negative, which is part of cum unit negative counterclockwise rotation. Negative doesn't mean bad, by the way. It's just the polarity balances of the natural Christos template. When it creates, it polarizes itself and then depolarizes itself to go back into wholeness. So we learn that we have the Cathara centers. We have what are called locks that keep these dimensional frequency bands separate from each other. We learned that we have this radial body structure that actually has different axes of different levels of our radial body are pointed at different axes. And when we go into Merkaba, what we do are bring these axes together. We learned how we do that using Vecca codes, which are specific, pretty little pictures that are actually the mathematical programs for the shields that allow for the opening of these areas here between our Cathara grid, our internal Cathara grid, our personal light field, our parallel light field, and our parallel selves. We've been working with the Vecca codes to open the density locks between, so this whole pattern can merge together. Did somebody say something? I don't know, I'm hearing things. I just heard somebody say something. And oh dear. Anyway, you all know this stuff already. That's why I'm going through it so fast. I'm just reminding you of the sequence of it. Now, we also learned that aim higher. Don't just settle for a little bivecca Merkaba that can go up and down and back and forth. Get something that can go round in circles too. And this is the shape, the basic shape of the Akasha Merkaba. That is the Merkaba that's required to be able to make the 45-degree angular shift of the axis to go into what is called the Eka universal structure. Now, we learned all of this stuff about the personal Merkaba and those kind of things, but we didn't just learn it on its own. I'll put the last one in here too, might as well. And we learned that that creates this, which is the crux sensata Merkaba, where you have the Akasha Merkaba here. You have these primal light sound fields that are created by depolarization of the radial bodies. They create the flame body around. The shields here activate. The Ionic shield begins its rotation. The Rishik shield begins its rotation. We're not even showing the parallel Rishik shield on this one. And these are our standard 4 shields, the 4 density shields. That's our flame body. We learned about how the Merkaba fields spiral the energy in and spiral the energy out. The top one spirals it down and into manifestation. The bottom one spirals it up and out of manifestation. So we learned all this stuff through the course of the Dance 4 program. We also learned, taking the Cathara again, that not only does this apply to our bodies, but it applies to the universe. We learned that the Cathara grid is also the map of stargates. In our universal system, or actually our planetary stargates, we learn the locations of them. And the stargates follow this pattern of frequency, which is the core template pattern of the Christ. And everything is built on that. Everything Christos is built on that. Everything starts like that. There's nothing that comes into manifestation that does not start as a Christos being. But because free will is allowed here, there are things that are being can do to itself to change that potential by following the law of opposite expression, if they so choose. We'll get into that later a bit, though. There's more on that. So, stargates. Cathara grids are stargates. We learned that. We learned, this gets fun when you know that Cathara grids are stargates, where we started to look at the Eka maps of the God world gates. We found how our little universal Cathara and our stargates plug into primal light field stargates, plug into a parallel primal light field stargate, which plug into the parallel universe. And right at the center, it forms this little Cathara grid that's called the inner Eka. Actually, it's the other way around. This actually spirals energy outward to create this system outside around it. So this Eka system is actually the core of our universe. All right, that's where our universe, and it's parallel, our 15-dimensional time matrix, and it's parallel, formed from the imprint of the Eka system, which holds the whole imprint of our system and its parallel within itself, as if they weren't polarized yet. Now, when we're talking about ascension and using Merkaba to go someplace through stargates, one of the best places to go is home, which is back, which is back here to the Eka universe. when we talk about the Eoni and the Eka races. These are races of eternal life beings. They're beyond the death experience. They have mastery over manifestation and over Merkaba, and they have commissions. They accepted commissions as guardians for very long, long periods of time over what are called the Eka temples. Each of these stargates in the Eka universal system holds what is called a crystal pylon temple, and they are major crystalline structures. I have the pictures of them, of the ones on Earth that give you an idea of what they look like, and I'll show those in a little bit again. But the inner Eka, this is key to understanding later the more advanced Merkaba mechanics and the Ark of the Covenant gates. The inner Eka system is the system that our system manifested out of. This system around it, the four crosses there, the four arms of the cross, is called the Veka system, as it came out of the inner Eka system. And the inner Eka is part of something even bigger that's called the Akasha. The Veka systems here are called quadrants. Each one of these little Cathara grids in the Veka is called a quadrant. We're in Veka quadrant 4, density 1. So we're actually down here. This is where our universe exists. When we look up at the stars in the sky and look out at space, we're actually seeing just this much of all that. But that's not all. Remember, we're seeing that plus that Akasha shape is connected to the next shape up. And these are the Eka maps of the God World gates again. Okay? The Akasha connects to the Akasha A. These are called spectra within the Akasha A. This is an Akasha A spectra. These get bigger and connect to more that are the Akasha Ea, our core God world, the first level of creation, the first level of expression of Source. So this Akasha A spectra connects into this. Now, as we notice, we get the same pattern, but it's repeating. And if you look at the top, it actually started from the top and spiraled down. Now, I say spiraled because Merkaba fields actually connect all of this together. And Merkaba fields are key to reconnecting it if you've become disconnected from it. Becoming disconnected from this pattern of grid work that exists as the core template of cosmic order means you become a finite being, means you lose the ability to run the eternally available perpetual life, primal life force currents from Source. And that's what has happened here in this universal Veka. We have 2/3 of the template reversed and 1/3 left. And during the period that we're entering now, we are going to have our template restored. If it wasn't restored, the whole thing would fall into black hole status, which is anti-Christos status, because it can no longer run Christos frequency. And it has no other destiny other than to eventually expend its own energy, self-consume, and implode back into space dust, and be stuck in the time matrix arena, the manifestation arena. So all of these things are very important to learning what mastery, spiritual mastery, is really about. And there is no difference between spiritual mastery and manifest mastery. One implies the other. We are learning the secrets of creation, right down to how and why electrons spin in the direction they do, and right now part of them are spinning in the direction they're not supposed to because of the mutation. We're going to learn about healing. And when we heal, we're not just healing templates. We're learning to talk to our electrons, protons, neutrons, and all the smaller things they're made of, and help them to get stuck out of their evolutionary, de-evolutionary turnstile. Because right now, literally, no matter how much of an avatar we might be before we hit that fetal template and fetal integration, as soon as you get in, it's lights out. The mutation in the matter base here, it's supposed to be a base 12 matter base. It is a base 4 right now, matter base. Yeah, and that goes right down to the 4 nucleotide bases that form the DNA of all living things. They're supposed to be 12, and it's supposed to be variable-based DNA, which means some things have more bases than others, but they are all multiples of base 12. So we have a huge mutation on this planet. It didn't happen overnight. It got really bad after 25,500 BC, but it was pretty bad before that. So this isn't a new problem. What's new is our remembering it. All of this work that we've done, all of these things we're trying to cram into our brains, is about learning how to, in this cycle, take the opportunity to reclaim the freedom that was always ours and to help ourselves and this planet and this universe heal, which was our original commission. So these are all the things. When you think about how little time it really took to go through whatever reading material or workshops you might have got to get to this point, look at all you've learned. My goodness, it used to take
40 years to get to this point in learning the same material. Back in Atlantis, you had to learn every little piece of it. You had to know it. You had to embody it. You had to become it before you could go on to the next one. Here, it's like, we don't have any time to do that. Here it is. Take what you can hold. And we're still going. Okay, now, of course, that last one leads up to this, which is the cosmic clock. You can look at this picture of the Akasha Aya, which is the same thing as the other one you just saw, except it's showing the 12 roof-shaped pillars. They're not numbered on this one. But you have the 12 roof-shaped pillars, which are literally the cosmic clock pillars. They hold the pulse of time. They set the rate of the spin of all Merkabas, all in the smaller manifestation areas, as it is set within them by the original Christ. This first Kathara grid, 12-point grid, and its simultaneously created internal little Kathara grid. That's actually 2 Kathara grids, so 24 points. That equals the universal Christ. This is the Christos, the male, and that's the Christalla, the female. This is the divine Trinity that was created here. And through these, through the divine male and the divine male and the divine female, it creates the cosmic divine blueprint, which is the Christ child, or the Christos. And this is where all these words came from. That's where they originally came from in the first place. And it wasn't spelled C-H, it was spelled with a K. K-R-I-S-T is the name of this. This whole body we've learned is, if you look at it as the body of God manifest, we have the Manu level. First the void was created. We have the Mane level and the Ire level, the divine masculine and divine feminine energies, God force consciousness. And from and within those emerged the rest of the creation format. It implies that every one of us live within God all the time and are made of the substance of God, made of the units of the consciousness of God, and therefore cannot ever be separated from God. Because God isn't elsewhere, there is no elsewhere to be. So, these are the teachings of the inner Christ, the inner Christ, and these are the teachings that Jesus Christ taught on this planet, as well as many others earlier than him. He brought them back here, so hopefully they'd still be on planet by the time this time got here, which they weren't, thanks to Archdeacon Michael and a few others like him. But we have this knowledge back now. It gives us a crash course in understanding our relationship to the universe, and we realize all the inferior choices of beliefs there are out there. Once you start to see the symmetry and the beauty in how the universe is actually structured as a perpetual motion, eternal life, you're always connected to God, you can't be away from God, God loves you, yes, God is a loving God, all this stuff. Once you see that, how can you go back to church? Anywhere, synagogue, a flower workshop, I won't go there. Once you see how these pieces connect, and you see others teaching little pieces of things that are about put your power over here, put your power over there, don't put it here, put it over there. You can't go back. They warned me in 1997 when my speaker contract was coming up. They said, well, we've trained you for a very long time. You don't have to take the commission if you don't want to. You're not obligated. And I said, well, that's all right. I'll do it. Just know, once you do, there's no turning back. And I figured, oh, okay. We're probably going to talk about like ETs or something and get killed. All right, well, I can deal with that. I figured it would go that way. That's not what they meant. It's inside of yourself. Once you get this stuff, you can't look another book that's out here on this planet right now in the face and say, oh, I'm going to dedicate my life to that instead. And if I have to give up this to do it, I will. Some people do. They're usually heavily implanted. But, that's their thing. If you want to call an external creator God, Godlet, your God from now until eternity, we have no problem with that. It's just sad because you don't get eternal life that way, and you don't get an open, direct relationship with Source that way. So we are the teachers of the freedom teachings, and we are not what are called freedom fighters. Freedom fighters are something very different. Freedom fighters use the guise of freedom and peace to go make trouble, to actually help imprison and enslave people. We don't need to be fighters. We hold the knowing. We hold the peace. We radiate the truth. The object in this belief system is to become, by opening it, allowing it to open in ourselves, the wholeness of what we are, which is a whole, individuated, walking expression of God Source, and to allow ourselves to be that, to honor ourselves enough and say, however many small limitations I might be playing with right now in my manifestation right now, I forgot. I am God. I am a piece of God that is manifesting as this. Oh, yeah, that's neat. Yeah, why did I do that? And you start asking the right questions. Why did I manifest this way in this thing? What did I come here to learn? You have those answers right inside you. You're not going to get them from a priest or a rabbi or anybody else. You know why? Because they don't have access to your personal records. Only you do. Once upon a time, priests and rabbis were supposed to do something good. They were supposed to teach you this type of thing to get you back into your own personal records so you could have your own personal relationship with God. And they got hijacked along the way by people who made some very bad decisions a long time ago. And in those bad decisions, they set in motion the Templar. You could call it the wrath of the Templar, not the wrath of God. God is wrathless. God has no judgment. God allows. That's why free will was given in the first place. However, there is consequence to action. And if you abuse the natural laws upon which the whole eternal life matrix is structured, the law of reciprocity will bring it back to you until eventually you will lose your potential to continue in opposite expression of divine will. It doesn't mean God comes down and slaps your hands and say, you're going down a black hole because you were bad. No. It's simply action and consequence. That was part of the creation that God sort of set in motion in the first place to ensure the safety of the perpetual life creation. As long as there were balances kept. The law of reciprocity is about balance. It's about, okay, things from free will can go actually this far before it will reset itself. We are at the reset point. After 250 billion years, we've had smaller level Hitharos, but not full universal Hitharos here, ever since the fall of Phantom Matrix 250 billion years ago. So this is an awesome period of time that we're in. It's really awesome. At some point, it'll kick in our emotional body levels eventually. We've been so busy working hard. Most indigos have. There's been a lot of pressure on indigos in general. There's no time to sit back and enjoy the fact, oh yeah, something cool's happening. Right? You're too busy trying to keep up with it. But there's a joy that's coming in this. Finally, both sides are getting what they want. The black hole people have wanted us out of their face, out of their way for ages now. We annoy them, we get in their way, we try to stop them from hurting each other, we try to stop them from destroying things. They don't like that. We're a nuisance. We're like overprotective parents. And, we were overprotective parents that really, really, really wanted to save them because we didn't want them to do that, but they really wanted to do that, so you have to honor that after a while. This is a point where there are two destinies being created for two different groups of people, and this is in this whole universal structure. And we have the choice. The only thing that's sad is they're not giving their people the choice. They're telling them lies to follow this or that, or to give your power over to that god or that goddess or that angel or that archdemon, whatever it is, and it'll take care of it for you. Yeah, sure it will. It'll take you right down a black hole and you won't even know the difference. Well, that is deception. And the Eoni races of the Eka, who are our races. They are the human races and the indigo races that were before us in time, that came before the human races here, and they're also our future races, who we are becoming. So we have selves there in different time frames in the Eka that are our future selves that look back and say, yes, there was a time when I was down at the Hitharo on Earth, so I have to find that place, right? Because I'm supposed to help you guys understand what it is, and I have to understand what it is too. You have future selves that already went through this Hitharo and made it. They're in different systems now. We're going to be taught, I think, how to begin accessing those as well. That's what the bilocation has to do with, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. That comes Sunday. Anyway. Yeah. Now, we went from learning about our body parts to learning about our spirit parts to learning about the parts of the universe to learning about all of this, which culminates in the Stairway to Heaven. Thank goodness for reducing copiers. I was so happy. You can actually squash it all into one paper, which is really a problem with most of these graphs. But it just shows you from our little density levels with our primal light fields, how you go up through the Veka systems, to the Eka systems, to the Akasha systems, up to the Akasha A systems, the Akasha Aya, all the way up, back to the first creation point within Source. This is our stairway to heaven. That's where we came from originally. We're way down here right now. It's like, oh boy. But once you master Merkaba, this becomes open again. And boy, if you have a hard time figuring out where you want to go on vacation now, can you imagine trying to figure out what time frame, what space-time frame, in what universe, in what Veka Eka Akasha level you wanted to go visit, and realizing you could do 20 different ones or a million different ones all at the same time? That can be really confusing. What would you do? I think I'd just sit still and go, cool. Yeah, I could do any of that, couldn't I? I don't really need to do anything, do I? This is where you get into being. Once you realize that people, when they're in a system that's taught them to be powerless, always feel a lack inside. Now, they're never satisfied. They can't be satiated because they have to, there's something they're trying to get to. There's always something they want, something they desire they don't have yet, that they can't get yet. So they're always trying to find ways to get it, whatever it is, or find out what it is, because they can feel the lack. Once that lack is filled by that open connection coming, you find you need less and less, even though you can create more and more. You get to the point where it's no fun to create more and more because you're really sick of more and more, because you realize if you create like bigger houses, you have more rooms to clean. If you create more cars, there's more cars to wash, to service, to pay bills on, to have somebody else drive you around in if you need to, that kind of stuff. You know, you get to the point where stuff becomes an interesting concept. But one you like to be as free of as possible, knowing you could have any level of it that you desired. Helping and interacting with others. Love is what becomes the main focus, the main why be? Because it feels good if you're being in a state of love. So we're moving into this, but we can enjoy our stuff in the meantime. If we can realize we're not defined by our stuff. In this system, there's the people on this planet, that I feel so much pain for the people on this planet in my heart, because they have been tricked and deceived into believing a whole bunch of lies that have taken the power right out of them. But it hasn't taken the power out of them. The power's still in there. They just don't know where to look. They're looking under rocks. They're looking up in spaceships. They're looking under every bed they can find. They can't find the power out here because it isn't out here. But they're being told that it is out here. And that is, it's a crying shame. It's like watching, say, a mouse running around in a cage, not realizing that the open door is right there, but going frantically around in circles until it exhausts itself and keels over from a heart attack because it burned itself out running around in circles because it didn't stop long enough to see the open door. And that's what's here, except we've had a lot of signposts that say, door's not there. No, it's over this way. So we keep running around in circles. We're getting free of that. And this is a generation that's being born and reawakened in this lifetime that will carry that flame of God consciousness with them. And there will be people in this room, most of you, I would think, probably all of you, that you will at some point in these transitions we're going through between now and 2012, find a power and a presence inside yourself that's so strong, you will just never, ever go back. Nothing will ever take away your personal relationship with God again, because you will feel it. It's a love affair. When I was small, I used to sing, like, you know, you hear love songs on the radio and stuff, and even my mother thought I was weird, because I used to sing them to God. you know, like there are things you'd sing, like, you know, to your boyfriend or girlfriend. Some of them were very, very sweet. I just sing them to God, and I wasn't picturing God as a big old guy on a throne with a white beard or anything. It was a power, a presence, a feel that I always felt with me, and that is our natural state. We were created in the image of God, and God is pure, unadulterated consciousness built upon love. This is who we are, and this is how we're getting back, is understanding. We have to bring our mental body with us because it sits between our physical, emotional body down here and our spiritual body up here. You have to integrate them. There's been so much trickery done in the New Age movement, teaching you, oh, that's just mental body stuff. Don't worry about that. No, focus your consciousness up here and get spacey and really wired and run a lot of frequency and become vegetarian so you can really get wired and can't anchor frequency. Why? So you can't get the frequency from up here down in through your body into your cells where it can make a difference to how your atoms are spinning. And if you don't make a difference to how your atoms are spinning, the 2/3 reverse Merkaba on this planet will take yours right with it, and you will go down and become food for the black hole system people, which is what they're trying to do. That's not a nice thing to do. Am I keeping it simple? Anyway, I'm just doing a recap of everything we already know, right? All right. All this. I'm going to show these just once more because I just love looking at these, and I don't know, I think they're good for you to look at. So I'm just going to show these. When we talk about crystal pylon temples of the Eka, oh, this isn't showing good. What's wrong with it on this one? It's not showing my pictures. Anyway, these are big giant crystals that are absolutely gorgeous that are actually on Earth. No, they're not working on here. Yeah. I'll try this last one. A lot of you have seen these already. I just like to show them to remind you that when we talk about crystal pylon temples, we're not talking about fake things. We're talking about things that are real. You can't really see them here. I don't know why either. They used to work. Oh? Do what to it? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. I don't think that helps any. Now that's strange. Is it the machine, or did they fade or
That's the person
something?
down a black hole.
No.
And this is the person.
Yeah,
getting out of the
we
black
could
hole.
pass we can pass them around if anybody wants to look at these. You can see them. Probably pass them around with a piece of white paper under them.
Do you want?
Yeah,
you
if
do
anybody wants to see them, because some people might not have seen them and they might be interested in seeing them.
Okay. There's the technology.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are in Chihuahua, Mexico. They were discovered by science, not by us, but they are part of the crystal pylon temple network that was plugged into Earth many, many eons ago. And these are just a tiny example of what we're talking about when we talk about the selenite crystal rods that are used to run the Eka temples. These are tiny ones compared to what's in the inner earth gates. And what connects here? Tiny ones compared to the sleeping giant that we're being called to assist in its awakening while we're here in Ireland. And this is new. I didn't know about the sleeping giant, but it is the largest, I guess, crystal pylon temple setup that connects into the Eka to the Veka in this universal system. And it's only used as part of the override system, the Ark of the Covenant override system during Hitharo cycles, when Hitharo cycles are being entered under crisis, which is what is happening in this point. Well, yes, it's actually, part of it is in Earth, and it connects that particular one, the temple of Zephyr Don, is the one at Newgrange, all right, which is a place where some of us are going to after, I forget, Monday, I think, or Tuesday, or what day? Tuesday we're going to Newgrange? Okay. Wednesday we're going to Newgrange. All right, so that was one of the options on the trip. Even if you don't go to Newgrange, it's all right. These frequencies are opening up in the grids, and we're just releasing the security seals so they don't cause lots of rumbles and rips and things when those frequencies move through the grids. But we are going to get a healing from this. This planet is going to get infused. Well, put it this way. When I was trying to understand what the Guardians were saying about the opening of these temples, was, he said, you know how when you do Melchizedek cloister ordinations, where you do regent level ordination, and you simply run the frequencies, and the person's avatar runs that stream of pale silver liquid light, hydroplasmic beam, down in through the central vertical current and anchors it at the spine, and from that point on, you have a live open connection to your own personal Christos. Well, imagine this on a whole universal level. That's what these temples do. They give the whole Veka its regent ordination. It's Melchizedek cloister regent ordination. That's powerful stuff. That's the beginning of full reset of the divine blueprint. And we'll talk more about that as we get into Merkaba. But I want to get into, let's see, how am I doing on time? Do you know? I'm asking you because I'm totally clueless when it comes to time. Okay. Yeah, at some point I'm going to take a bit of just a 5-minute bathroom break for everybody. Okay, now we're going to get into some very hard to draw things. This wasn't one of them. We're so grateful to this person who I hear wants to, doesn't want the name mentioned, but they're extremely good with computer graphics, and all of those hand-done, rather raw-looking echo maps of the God World gates, they've put them in computer. Yeah, they've cleaned them up and put them in, and they're absolutely awesome. So we're just getting these and getting them ready to integrate into the text that'll be coming out. But anyway, this is a nicer-looking version of the Akasha with the Veka system in it and the inner Eka system. Again, these are the gates. These are our gates, the Particum universe. These are our parallel. These are our light fields, which takes us through the dimension density. I'm talking too fast. I'm tripping over myself. The light fields of D13, 14, and 15, and then the primal sound fields. This one belongs to us. And here's our parallel density system, 12 dimensions, and its parallel light field, and the Eka that connects us, and the Akasha grid within which we all exist. Now this becomes interesting when you see where Merkaba fields plug into this. I was fascinated when they started showing this. I was also terrified of the prospect of having to draw it, because it required rulers and numbers and things. Right? Now, we'll take it slow now. I need to take this slow because I have to read this myself, because these literally just came through within the last 4 to 5 days, and we've moved through from one to the other so fast to get them done that I can't even remember what the first one was compared to, once you get to the last one. So I'm going to take these slow, and we can learn them together. And I have to put my glasses on for this because I can't read little type at a distance without, I can't see at a distance, actually, without them. Yeah, now. All right. Actually, I'd be better off reading this off the type stuff. I'm going to read this off the paper, I think. Actually, would you help me? You could read and I can point. All right, then don't. I'll read. I hate reading. You read it? Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking it will be easier to... this has worked well before, where you read and I point to the graph at the same time. Yeah, it's hard to do that. I'm not that coordinated to do it with that. Let me find out. This we need to read later. I figured I'd save the heavy reading material that goes with it. It's just a brief introduction to advanced Merkaba mechanics. You know, brief introductions from the IANI. Scary thought. Right. So we're going to take it right to the graphs. Now I can at least read these because they're closer to me if you're busy.
I'll read it.
You'll read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, he'll read, I'll point. Okay, what he's going to read is up here. I'm going to find my title. See, it's easier if you had your thingies. I don't know when they're coming, but I like it where you can look at your own books, you know, for it. Don't.
In universal vector systems... You can't hear that?
No.
Oh. In universal vector systems, both the particum and the parallel particule universe... Always something, isn't there? Hastily regrouping. In universal vector systems, both the particum and the parallel particule universe have two sets of two large counter-rotating Merkaba spirals.
With a bi-vector shape, two spirals from the universe, two spirals from the parallel universe, two spirals from the light fields. So you got four bi-vector.
One set manifests through the 12-point primal Cathara template. One set manifests through the 12-point primal Cathara template. Okay. Shall I go on? And one set manifests through the 12-point density Cathara template for each universe.
Here's one density Merkaba. Here's another density Merkaba. Here's a primal light Merkaba that goes with the parallel field, and there's our primal light field Merkaba. And these are bi-vector Merkabas. You hear that? Yeah. Okay.
So have you done the bi-vector thing? The two primal bi-vector Merkaba fields and their inherent universal single bi-vector Merkaba fields all exist within a larger counter-rotating Merkaba spiral set called an Akasha core tri-vector Merkaba field.
All that takes place inside of one of those. That's the Akasha Merkaba. So when you form an Akasha Merkaba, what you're doing is bringing all of these spirals together. And there's something else that's interesting too.
Which? The two primal bi-vector Merkaba fields.
Yeah.
Bottom right?
Yeah, I want to talk about the single bi-vector and then the double bi-vector.
Why don't you go up?
Okay. Okay, well, it's down the bottom. Your glue's going. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, guys. Okay, now, we were talking about, remember, this is one Vecca system. There's the Eka at the center. There's the Akasha around it. There are four bi-vector, single bi-vector Merkabas here. One set for the densities and one set for the primal light fields. They plug into the Cathara grid like this. Now, if you notice, these 2 points here, the Cathara grid is here, 1 through 12 is here. These 2 points are actually the D14 light fields. But if this is our particum universe, for example, right? We're running the particum density scale. dimensions 1 through 12, this is actually parallel 14, where they connect in. They actually loop around. The ends loop around and connect in to the center point. This would be parallel 14. This would be parallel 14. Here's our Cathara grid, our 12 dimensions, and the one biveka, single biveka Merkaba that forms on it. What's interesting is when you take that, that's just here, right? You also have the parallel one and two others. When you put two of these together, like say for instance our Perticum universe's Merkaba field and the one that goes with its light field, you get what's called a double biveka Merkaba field. Okay? Now again, these are all taking place within the triveka Merkaba. But if you put the two light fields together, you get one primal, or primal light field, double biveka. And at the same time, these two would swing together and create one universal double biveka Merkaba field. Now, understanding the basic structure of how these four single biveka Merkaba fields come together and shift axis to form two double biveka Merkaba fields within the triveka Merkaba field is really key. The reason they're giving us this level of the information is so we can begin to understand what happens during what phases of Hitharo and Hithalon. Because when I talk about this coming together with this and that coming together with that, this is precisely what takes place during Hitharo.